Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you all for the 3-day international virtual workshop on research and publication. It's my pleasure to welcome our today's moderator, Manju Bala ma'am. So she is an assistant professor in the Department of English, presently posted as SCBV Government College, Palambur, District Kangra, Himachal Pradesh, India. She did her master's degree from HB University and her MPhil was done of the topic of genre motif in Amitabh Ghosh's The Shadow Lines and the Hungry Tide. She also qualified UGC NET and SLET. She has been teaching in college for last 8 years. She has written a poetry collection of books named The Wildflower, which was inaugurated by the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh. She is a national level athlete, a long distance runner. Recently, in February 2023, she won two bronze medals for 5,000 meter and 10,000 meter for the state of Himachal in 5th National Master Game held at Banaras Hindu University, Uttar Pradesh. She has won gold medal in Himalayan half marathon as well. So I'm so glad to welcome you, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'm deeply touched. So, warm welcome to all and warm greetings as well. I'll be serving as your moderator today, and you will be hearing our well-renowned speakers. But before we get started, I want to get a few minutes of your valuable time. I feel highly delighted and grateful for having been given opportunity to act as moderator in this virtual workshop. For all your trust, I express my thanks to Cape Comorin Trust. I hereby congratulate and express my deep admiration to Dr. R.S. Regan Sylvester, President, Cape Comorin Trust, for providing an enriching platform to the budding scholars and researchers and giving them the opportunity to interact with intellectuals and resource persons from all over the world and helping them to enhance their research skills and their knowledge in different fields. I also congratulate and express my thanks to Lavender Literary Club India for providing this great opportunity. The theme of the workshop is research and publication. So it is the time I start with introducing our first speaker. So, our first speaker for the session, Professor Dr. Faisal Fayaz, CEO Neurotechnologies, Pakistan, and former project manager PUCIT, Punjab University, Lahore, Pakistan, has numerous accolades to his name in diverse fields on national and international level. If I happen to tell you all about his experiences and achievements, I'm afraid it may take all the time of the session has. Well, I would mention a few highlights of the vast academic research and sports background of our speaker. He is an editorial board member of Asia Pacific Journal of Scientific Education and Research. He is country head of Pakistan IQRA International, country head Pakistan T4 Community, international speaker, researcher, and global educator. He is also senior lecturer of Superior University, Pakistan. He's a member of Project Management Institute USA, Education Administrator, Pakistan of International Organization of Educators and Researchers. He is reviewer of the Polaris Journal of Science. He has received honorary causa award, honorary doctorate award in computer science by International Internship University. He has been ISEF Symposium presenter in 2022. Talking about the main highlights of the sports background of our resource person, it is our privilege to have with us the international gymnast, coach, and also black belt in karate. Our guest today is Associate Secretary of Pakistan Gymnastic Federation, International Olympic Certified Gymnasts Coach and Sports Administrator, lifetime member of Sports Engineering Association India, member of International Federation of Physical Education and Sports. He organized the first international gymnasts conference in the world. He has bagged around 40 awards on national and international level, including Henry Lal Gold Medal from General Pervez Musharraf, President and Chief Executive of Pakistan then. He got Certificate of Honor, the Global Empowerment Reward 2021, to mention a few of them. The topic for which our honored speaker is going to enlighten us is how to write a strong hypothesis. Hypothesis, which is basis of any research, is again a supposition or proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. Strong hypothesis is clear, testable, and involves a prediction. Without wasting any time further, I hereby gladly present to you all our renowned, versatile, brilliant speaker, Professor Dr. Faisal Fayaz. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am, thank you very much. I hope that my voice is clear and I'm audible. Okay, so today the topic is what is hypothesis and how we can write down a strong hypothesis to make our research good and bad one. Reason the most important thing is this, that in which way we can basically prove our thing. So we know very well that research is the main thing, which is to basically tell us about the new thing, new idea, which was not happened in the world. And it can be the extension, it can be any basically formula, any kind of literature review, theory, and scientific approach. Through that, you basically prove this thing that such kind of thing never happened in this world before, that you are basically telling to the audience or to the world. So first thing is this, how does a hypothesis begin? Second question, what do you do with it and how do you make one? So when we talk about this thing that hypothesis, so it's just a basically relationship between two things, that what is wrong, what is right, and you have to prove this thing with your basically background of your research statistics, that in which way it will basically happen, what was the cause, what was the basically reason that you chooses this thing, and how you will prove this thing. So it's all about back end mechanism, you can say. It means mental processing is there, you are thinking, you are working on this thing, that how it will basically it can be proved or how it will be proved in the world, that the audience will accept this thing in a right way. So if we say this thing that whatever the main idea or the research area you have choose, so what happened, that what the main thing that you want to basically choose to work on that specific area. For example, it can be extension, it can be a new research, it can be a new methodology, it can be a new research review, which is basically which criticize on the earlier research, and it basically criticism on some scientific natural laws or formulas or something like. So hypotheses begin through the thinking level, that what you think and what the literature is telling, what the basically content and context is there. You will compare and deeply you will analyze this thing, that how it can be proved. So you have to basically at the back end you have to basically work on both two things, the literature as well as thinking as well as the evidences and the conclusion. So all the work you have to done by yourself, not by any other one. So you will critically work on it, and in this way your hypothesis will begin. Next question, what do you do with it? That what happened, that when you basically work on it and you decide that this is my hypothesis, and this one is the right one, and this one is the H1, and this one is H0 null hypothesis, and the other one alternative hypothesis, what it will be. And how do you make one? Obviously, so you will finalize it, that this will be my hypothesis. Through that, I will basically work on my research. How does a hypothesis begin? The first question. Scientists make lots of observation. This leads them to form scientific question about what they have observed. Each scientist creates an explanation or a hypothesis. What that he or she thinks will answer the question. So it means that whatever the debate, the research, the idea, the problem they have discovered and they have decided to work on it, what it will be. And they are only answerable, not other than in this world. Reason they started debate and they started this basically task to prove this thing that whatever they are saying it is right. But we have to provide the evidence. Without evidence, you cannot prove anything. So it means scientists do a lot of observations. They do a lot of research review earlier, later, current, and in this way they compare the things that what is the relationship among them, and in this way they will basically finalize the thing. So then again there is explanation, and in this way they are able to reply that how they can prove this thing. So you are looking here, that question is there, and the second thing is this, they are working on this thing, that how they will basically prove this thing in this world, which never ever basically happened, or never ever anyone basically worked on it, and never anyone basically tried to start debate on this topic. So they are the first one who is basically working on this thing. How does a hypothesis begin? So again, I have already told you it's a back-end mechanism. Your brain processing is 100% involved there. You have started a topic which basically it's a new debate, new thing, new problem, and you basically playing a leading role to prove this thing that this one is the right one. A scientist bases his or her hypothesis both on what he or she has observed and on what he or she already knows to be true. So we know very well that whatever they are thinking, the majority will basically criticize on this thing that this is not right, and obviously uh, whatever the problem, and when the new things will be introduced in the world, the majority will do not like to accept that thing. So same like thing is there, that there is criticism is always on other end, but you are the only defender who proved this thing that this is the thing, and it's you have to prove as well that how it will work, and how this is the genuine reason, and how it is true, but it is hidden from the eyes of the individuals. So they basically work on this thing. So system is what, that system designer are those which basically develop the system in their mind, and after that they put in the front of the people, and they basically give them some prototype, and in this way when the individual saw the prototype, then they can basically prove this thing that it can be happen. So here I just want to put our example here, that touchscreen mobile nowadays we are working utilizing its service and the science as well. But if we talk about 30 years ago, so mobile science, mobile cellular communication was new one. So no one basically uh, having any basically concept of this thing, that one day they will have some type of touch mobile where the input and output both will be there, and with the basically finger they can work on it. But again, computer science developed all the thing, whatever they are looking, it's all illusion. But this illusion is doing the same work as we like. So it means that at software level, it is just like illusion. But when we create some outcome and get its outcome, so it's the real one. Like when you call to someone, then you are able to communicate to your friend. And on the other hand, when you create any report and when you take the print, then it will be in hard form in the hand of you. So it's just like this thing that backend mechanism, it's very strong and it is the right thing. It's the foundation of any system. Whatever we are looking, and mostly people look whatever, they are just like illusion, whatever interface they are looking. For example, you are looking my presentation. So I'm here in Pakistan, in Lahore, and you are in basically India. And both we are looking illusions, which has been generated by microprocessor. And but it looks like and it basically creating the outcome as like we want. You and both, you and I both can understand, and we are communicating, we are sharing. You are getting my voice, you are getting my words, and in this way I'm looking and observing to you as well. Okay, so it means that this is the thing that outcome should be beneficial, whatever the mechanism will be there. So this is the thing that scientists totally depend on hypothesis, that how it will basically, how he will prove this thing, that whatever he is saying, he is telling to the world is the thing which is true. But need to prove this thing. If the scientist or the researchers is unable to prove this thing, then obviously the majority will criticize more on it. But on the other hand, if you rationally develop your hypothesis and you prove this thing in the whole world, in front of the whole world, then obviously everyone will able to accept that thing, that this is the right point and it is the reality, and in this way it will be acceptable by the whole world. Making a hypothesis is a step in the scientific method. So the seven basic steps of the scientific method which are very important, so you have to work on it. Asking a question, completing research, making hypothesis, planning and investigation, recording and analyzing data, explaining the data, and communicating the result. So if your hypothesis it's not basically following the all the steps of the scientific method, so its reliability and validity should be basically not at the right path. So your hypothesis according to this scientific method, that it will cover approach and it will be totally dependent and interlinked with all the steps of these scientific methods. Asking a question, completing research, and then develop a hypothesis, planning an investigation, that in which way you take and prove your thing, and then you are recording and analyzing data, that whatever the audience and the feedback and whatever the basically respondents have said to you, and respond on your feedback, what it is and how many people are basically accepting your research hypothesis and how many rejecting your hypothesis, explaining the data, and at the end you will able to communicate the result. And obviously the result will tell that this thing has been proved. If it's not basically proved, so what happened, that it means that hypothesis was weak, it was not strong, and it was not rationally developed. So the research totally, you can say, depend on your hypothesis. So whenever you develop your hypothesis, try to adopt and interlink with all these scientific steps and then develop it. Reason is this: the failure of research due to hypothesis, it's happened when you just things startly points mean first second third that we are going to start and we will proceed and hopefully we will develop hypothesis and our basically research and conclusion will be according to our required outcome. But remember this thing, there is a approach of top down design as well as bottom to up as well. You have to interlink your hypothesis with all the steps. If you do not do this thing, then obviously at the end you will face problem. Your hypothesis will not according to your required outcome and the thing will be basically useless for you. Reason, your hypothesis not due to not basically strong hypothesis, your research can be basically face the chances of failures. So example question is here. A scientist notices that the tomato plant closest to her neighbor's yard is much taller than any of the other plants in her garden bed. She also notices that the neighbor turns on his sprinkler system every day and that some of this water reaches only her big plant. The scientist creates a question. Does daily watering from a sprinkler make a tomato plant grow faster than other tomato plants? So this one is the question that you have to work on it. So again, I'm repeating a question. Does daily watering from a sprinkler make a tomato plant grow faster than other tomato plants? So it means that if water sprinkler it's on daily basis, then the plant growth will be much better than the other one. And in this way, the other plants who are not basically getting water at regular basis, their growth and development it's not according to the other one. So you have to think this one, you have to notice this thing, and in this way you will compare that one case is this that you are providing water to a tomato plant, and on other hand there is second group where you are providing water not on daily basis, oftenly you are providing and then see the result. So example hypothesis is there. The scientist creates this hypothesis to address her question. If I water the tomatoes in my garden daily, then will grow faster because tomatoes grow more when they get more water. So this is basically hypothesis example. Again, I am repeating, if I water the tomatoes in my garden daily, then they will grow faster because tomatoes grow more when they get more water. So this is one of the case. So in this way, you have to develop a strong relation, interlink all the factors that if I provide this thing, then the growth will be better as compared to the other one. So if, for example, we here is the example of a garden. So I also want to basically mention one example. Most Pakistan and India both are basically agricultural country, and India has become industrial country as well. So agriculture countries mostly we belong from farmer families. So we have seen this thing that after two or three fields, the basically farmer plow the whole field, mean after harvesting two or more basically production of the any vegetables or fruits, they basically plow the fields and make new track in the basically field, in the basically totally your basically area wherever your basically garden is there or your field is there. So same like this thing, why it is? Reason is this, that after one harvesting and basically cutting the production and then again harvesting second production and then third one, after that soil become weaker. So then they basically farmer to raise the growth of the basically production, They basically mix the soil, and in this way they plow the field and mix the soil. So whatever the soil it's underneath, it will come upside, and in this way it's mixed, and then they harvest. Then the farmer harvest again the basically fields, and the production become better. So this is one of the simple example in our daily life, and we know very well. So same like this thing is this, that if a tomato in the garden, and you are providing water, so obviously growth will be better. And if you do not provide sufficient water to the tomato plants, then obviously its growth will be affected, and its production will not be as like as you think. So all the things are interlinked: tomato crops, growth, development, production, input, output, your soil fertilizer, water, and again some climatic factors as well. But here we are only discussing two things: water and tomato production. So if I provide, or any farmer provide, right form of, or in right capacity provide the water to the plants, then the production will become much better. So this is the one of the case. What do you do with the hypothesis? The hypothesis that a scientist creates leads him or her to make a prediction that can be tested next in an investigation. So what happened, whatever you have done, now you are analyzing and you are comparing the result of your steps, of your hypothesis, that whatever you have decided, you have taken the steps, it's fruitful or not. So you will check your hypothesis, and in this way you will come to know that what are the effects of it. So hypothesis again, it leads to the right prediction, that it will be success, it will become or make your research successful or not. And if it's not able to provide a right direction, then obviously there is a need to correct your hypothesis. So hypothesis testing is there, and you do it by yourself. What do you do with the hypothesis? Notice how the example: scientist hypothesis makes a prediction that can be tested. If I water the tomato in my garden daily, then they will grow faster, because tomatoes grow more when they get more water. So this is our hypothesis. So water, tomato plant, they are basically directly interlinked to each other. If we provide water to the tomato plant, then plant will be able to, its growth will become better, and it will give us the maximum production. What will the scientist do in the investigation to test her hypothesis? So now we are going to discuss this thing, that how the scientists will investigate this hypothesis. A hypothesis is not just a prediction. So it's not like this one, that you just start work on a myth that this will be happen and this will happen, and if I have said this thing and it is right, without thinking, without any looking dream or something. Science totally depend on scientific approach. If your method is not scientific, then obviously science or not a single one will be able to basically accept that thing. Reason: science totally depend on scientific method and on the logic. So in science, a prediction is an educated guess about the expected outcome of a specific test. In science, a hypothesis goes further. A hypothesis includes a possible explanation about why the expected outcome of a test will occur. So, through scientific method, we will judge, we will analyze this thing, that how we can prove this thing, that it is true, it is wrong, and this is the right production or not, and how we can basically make it more better, and how the basically whatever we have said, our research is according to our right or required outcome or not. So science follows the scientific path. So science hypothesis goes further, mean you will see that whatever you have said, it will be follow the scientific method or not. So hypothesis includes a possible explanation about why the expected outcome of a test will occur. So whatever your hypothesis will be there. So you will check that in a tenure, in a basically time period, that it is giving me the outcome or not. If your outcome is not up to the mark and it's not according to the your required results, then obviously science will not accept this thing. Reason, you have checked, you have started work on your hypothesis, but the outcome is not according to your hypothesis. Prediction versus hypothesis. Example, prediction, if it gets cold outside, the leaves will change colors. Obviously, when the weather changed, when the season changed, you have seen this thing: autumn season, spring season, and winter season and summer season. The color of the leaves become changed. So example hypothesis you can set here, that if it gets cold outside, then the leaves will change color because leaf color change is related to temperature. So this one is the right thing. We know very well that if we provide the heat to anything, even your kettle, even your any steel or utensil or anything, if you provide them heat, then its color will be changed. So this is the thing that we have to prove. So in this way, whatever your hypothesis will be there, it should be valid. Its validity should be clearly understandable, that whatever the sentence that you have used in your hypothesis, it is fulfilling the criteria or not, and its meaning should be clear. So here you are looking, it's very clear. Prediction, if it gets cold outside, the leaves will change color. So this one is a prediction. But on the other hand, if it's get cold outside, the leaves outside, then the leaves will change color. So it means in upper sentence you are looking only the sentence was in clear and in right way. But here you are shifting them in two sentences or three sentences. If it's cold, it gets cold outside, then the leaves will change color because leaf color change is related to temperature. So here the source and its parameter will be clearly understandable. But on the other hand, if you just look at the prediction, it was only saying this thing, that if the temperature become down, then the color will become change of the leaves. So hypothesis statement, while developing your hypothesis, it should be clearly understandable, precise, and its meaning should be clear. Just like this one, where all the points are very clearly has been mentioned here, that if temperature will be down, then the leaves color will be changed, and it's due to temperature factor. So you are here not hiding anything. You are clearly telling that this thing is due to this thing if this happen. So this is the basically best way while writing any hypothesis. How do you write a hypothesis? So now this one is the very important question. Reason, this one is the major thing, and this was the main topic of our today's lecture. Is this how to write a strong hypothesis? A good hypothesis includes two parts: a prediction about the outcome of a scientific investigation and an explanation for why those results will occur. So in earlier example, we have seen this thing that in one statement there was a prediction which is directly or clearly in a single sentence was there. But in second question, which was explain example of hypothesis of the prediction, here the sentence was distributed into three sentences while clearly mentioning the reason and the major cause due to which it was happened. So your hypothesis should be rational, productive, precise, clearly understandable. If your basically statement it's not right and it's not clearly understandable, then obviously the evaluator and the researcher or even the individual or the respondents will not basically unable to support your hypothesis as well. Reason, when your hypothesis will clearly describe the meaning, the problem, the criteria that this is happening due to this reason and factors are these, so automatically it will be it respondent will accept this thing that this is the right and the basically researcher has point out a right thing. A hypothesis is worded as a prediction about what will happen if you change something. Example, if students eat a lot of candy, then they will get more cavities because sugar on teeth causes cavities. So this one is the thing that your hypothesis, it's just like your sentence based thing which in which you have clearly described the major cause, reason, input, process, and output. That if this will happen, then obviously the outcome will be this one. If someone, here I want to put example here, if a person continuously basically in a room sitting or majorly 8 hours sit on chair and his or her activities are not so much on regular basis, then obviously there is a basically chance that his or her weight will be up and he will become fatty, his or her muscle become weak, and obviously when your physical health will become down, so mental health will become also down. Reason, if body structure, body mechanism is directly related with your brain and your physical movement. So if you do some physical movement, then you become fresh, your stress will feel less as compared to if you do not move and you do not have physical activities and you just sit down, then you basically having a lot of diseases as well. We can look this example and we are looking this thing that the sportsmen always you look in happy mood, they are very relaxing, they do not have any stress. Even in tough matches they have the stress, but mostly they know very well how to control the brain and the body. So Einstein, Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle, they believed on this thing that physical education, sports, it is the basically right point through that we can improve the health and the mental status of any human. If the person, even Plato, who started his school, the school name was Academia, and Plato recommended the age of 7 to enroll any child in that school. So it means that there is firstly your physical movement, physical things are there, and then obviously your mental will become powerful if your muscle become strong. But on the other hand, if you do not move, then obviously our health will become down, our internal organs become disturbed, they become their interaction, their mechanism, their system become disturbed, your digestion system having problems, your heart system having problem, your stamina could be over almost, and after that what happened, that you will suffer in a lot of diseases. So this is the thing, healthy minds leads to happy life, and health is real wealth. So this is the universal truth, that the major thing, you cannot buy your health, you cannot purchase your health. Health is not basically in is basically available on the shops or everywhere. It's in your hand, and it's interlinked with yourself. If you do move, if you struggle, then obviously you are able to do something in this world. And this is all the basically research based things. So when you have physical movement, your mental status will be good, and it's not, you do not have any stress or something like. You know very well how to control yourself, and you have better control. Even sportsmen have better control on their emotions and their basically skills as well as compared to us, and they have better control on their body and mind as well. But on the other hand, a normal person do not have. So this is the thing. So if a student eats a lot of candy, then they will get more cavities, because sugar on teeth causes cavities. So if we eat more, then obviously we become fatty, because due to less movement, flesh and basically um, muscles will become weaker, due to which reason we have overweight. How do you write a hypothesis? A good hypothesis is worded like this one: if, then, because. So, if you basically write your hypothesis in these words, or the underneath one, I predict because, I think because. So, both the approaches are recommended and understandable, and you can say these are the valid hypotheses. Okay, if you basically put and design your hypothesis in these words: if, then, because. Okay, if this will be happen, then it this will be outcome due to this reason, because. So you have to work on it. If I do not basically go to grounds or sports grounds, if I do not play, then I become overweight, because I have less movements, less physical movement. Same like, if I become sick, then I basically um, I will take medicines, because I have a need of that thing. My internal organs requires that thing. So this one is the point, that if you write down your hypothesis in these three words: if, then, because. Or the second way is this: I predict because, I think because. So both the things are valid to write down your hypothesis, and in this way you can elaborate. You can basically describe your rational hypothesis in a right way. Hypothesis example is here. Wow. So you are looking here: if students eat a lot of chocolate, then they will get a sick stomach, because a lot of chocolate all at once is hard for the stomach to just. So this example is very clear and right one. If students eat a lot of chocolate, then they will get sick stomach, because a lot of chocolate all at once is hard for the stomach to digest. So earlier I have described you all the points, all the things. If I and if we just basically become and put ourselves in a single room, and our physical movements in a limited way in our life, then obviously we become sick and weak, because our muscles are not getting any physical movement or strength, and due to this reason our mental muscle will also become. So all these things are interlinked to each other. If you want to improve yourself, so physical and mental health both are interlinked with each other. If you basically improve the capacity of your mental health or brain memory, then there is a need to increase your physical activity. But on the other hand, we see this thing and observe this thing nowadays. A lot of people, they are doing a lot of basically work in their daily life, but they are unable to get a free time for the grounds or for physical activities, due to which reason what happened, due to the excess of work, after 5 or 10 years they have a lot of diseases. So you know very well that when a person becomes sick or heart attack or another disease, blood pressure, blood sugar, and uric acid or something other problems, so at the end doctor will only say and recommend two things to the basically blood pressure or uric acid or heart patient: to try to eat fruits regularly and try to do morning walk at least 2 to 3 kilometer. So it means that you, when you do some physical activity, so your internal mechanism will become accelerate, will automatically accelerate all the organs, and they become at normal. But on the other hand, if you do not move, then what happens, that your brain is working, but your lower portion, they are becoming weaker, due to which reason your internal organs also become weaker. And when they become weaker, then your digestive system, your eating system, your basically inhaling system, your lung system, they all been affected, and they become weaker and weaker. And due to which reason we have seen this thing. You would just look at the example of COVID-19, then what it is. It is only that whose lungs are weaker, they could not survive in this disease. But on the other hand, if you just look at that sportsmen whose stamina and whose lungs are better, they survived much as compared to the normal person. Reason, their lungs basically having the stamina, they were at better position to basically manage to basically fight with the COVID virus. And we have seen this thing that many sportsmen or sports personalities, they survived after being effective or becoming the victims of COVID-19 as well. While on the other hand, normal persons could not survive. The ratio are very less who become victimized by COVID-19. So it means front end and back end both you have to work, and rationally you have to design. Hypothesis, it's not only front end. So here you have to develop a mechanism through that you will basically combine your backend mechanism, your internal mechanism, coordination of your body and mind. So it's all due to your physical movement. If you do this thing, then automatically you will get strength and become more powerful. And in this way, your organs will become better as compared to the earlier. If then because. After the word if, explain what will change in the investigation. After the word then, write what you predict will happen as a result of that change. After the word because, explain why you think the result will happen. So these are three things that you have to cover in your hypothesis. If then because, then your hypothesis will be valid and it will be acceptable by all respondents as well. If you prove this thing, that your statement is accurate due to this reason and due to this reason, and after that you are clearly mentioning your factors, background, backend mechanism, relationship of all that things, then the thing will be basically acceptable by all audience. So you have to, or any researcher have to work on this thing, that they have to prove this thing through the strong hypothesis. If they basically cover if then as, if then because, and your hypothesis become better and better. Another hypothesis, now we are looking this thing, If salt is added to a plant soil, then the plant will die because salt will dry out the soil so that there is not enough water left for the plant. So this hypothesis is very right, and you are looking here the clearly it has been mentioned that if you put soil salt in your plant soil, then there will be basically plant become die. Reason salt is not basically a good thing, and if the soil salt it's involved and mixed with your soil, so it damages the life of the plant, and it dry out the soil so that there is not enough water left for the plant, so plant could not get the water due to salt. Reason salt will sink the water and plant is unable to get that thing. So in most of the areas where the basically soil salt basically come out on the land or the fields at the upper layer, so farmers are not able to harvest their fields due to the salt level at the main land or main area upper layer of the land. Okay, so if we just look at in Pakistan, there is a Kalar Khar area where salt mine is available. I think first and the largest salt reservoir in the world of the world. So what happened there is in Sargoda area where some of the land basically having you can observe that white salt on the land. Clearly you can see this thing, and even there is when basically Skandri Azam came, and he basically there is a point where he delivered a lecture to his army as well. So Sikandar Azam basically his army or he basically discovered that area that there is a soil there. When they saw this thing, that horses are licking the uh, basically land of that thing, while there is a soil or there is a basically there are some rocks. So when they saw this thing, so then they observed this thing that why horses are licking the soil and the land. So after observation, they came to know this thing that this land a rich reservoir of salt, and the horses are licking the salt. So in this way, when the salt is at your land area, then it is not basically able to harvest the field area. Another hypothesis, if people spend more time in the sun, then they will be more likely to get skin cancer because exposure to ultraviolet light in sunlight causes skin cancer. So if we just look at this thing, in India or in Pakistan, we do not have time to basically to take sun bath or something like. But if we just look at the Europe areas, there are basically they desire to take the sun bath and they enjoy the sun bath. Reason sun basically uh, at very low rate visible in that areas of Europe. So it means it's a statement. If you spend more time in sun rays, then obviously the ultraviolet rays can be cause of your skin cancer. So this is the one of the statement. So in this way, this can be a strong hypothesis, and you have to prove this thing through thus basically data or that how many persons become sick or having the skin cancer due to taking sun bath or something like. So this one is again our description. A hypothesis states your predictions about what your research will find. It is a tentative answer to your research question that has not yet been tested. For some research project, you might have to write several hypotheses that address different aspects of your research question. A hypothesis is not just a guess, it should be based on existing theories and knowledge. Already, I have told you this thing. It has to be testable, which means that you can support and refute it through scientific research methods such as an experiment, observation, and statistical analysis of data. So if your hypothesis is not according to scientific basis, So it will not be valid, it will not be authenticated, and it is not basically verified as well. Hypothesis testing is a formal procedure for investigating our ideas about the world using statistics. It is used by scientists to test specific predictions called hypotheses by calculating how likely it is that a pattern or relationship between variables could have arisen by chances. So we will see that what are directly related variable, what are not directly related variable, or something like. What are null and alternative hypotheses? So here, null and alternative hypotheses are used in statistics hypothesis testing. The null hypothesis of a test always predicts no effect or no relationship between variables, while the alternative hypothesis states your research prediction of an effect or relationship. So here you have to define two basically hypotheses. One is null and the other one is alternative hypothesis. So in this way you can develop this thing. A hypothesis is a statement that can be tested by scientific research. If you want to test a relationship between two or more variables, you need to write hypothesis before you start your experiment or data collection. So this is the dead point that I have already told you that the the major cause of our researcher failure or the weak hypothesis is that they start to work while not working at the back end. They just start work hurriedly. So this is the major cause due to which reason they are unable to basically complete and unable to develop a strong hypothesis. So if you want to develop a strong hypothesis, so at the back end you have to first of all in a round you have to cover all the scientific method steps, and you have to done all the working roughly in your basically as a backend process in your brain, that how you will prove this thing, etc. Defining your hypothesis. An hypothesis test is usually composed by null and alternative. I have already told you. Null hypothesis, also called H0, states that all things remain equal, no phenomena is observed, or there is not relationship between what you are comparing. In alternative hypothesis, it is called H1, states the opposite of the null hypothesis. Mean one is you are saying something, and the other one is alternative hypothesis. You are telling that there was some change or observed relationship between what you are comparing, and in this way you have to basically define your thing. So here you are looking for you Friday movie night. What you really want to know is if one movie is significantly better than the others. In this case, you can build your hypothesis on the difference between the average rating your friends gave to each movie. So in this way, you will compare and you will check that what happened. So this is the simple example. You are looking null hypothesis, it's equal, and H1, it's not equal. Okay. So what you really want to know is if one movie is significantly better than the other one. In this case, you can build your hypothesis. So you can basically compare different situations and you can do some practices to understand, to develop your better hypothesis. So, which you can read as null hypothesis, the mean of movie A is equal to the mean of movie B and alternative. And hypothesis alternative is what the mean of movie A is not equal to the mean of movie B. So, statistically, it has been written in such way. And if you just look at the statement, so it is just look like this one. The mean of movie A is equal to the mean of movie B and alternative. And alternative hypothesis is this, that movie A is not equal to movie B. So after this, I have finished, and I hope that within an hour I have covered my presentation. Uh, I tried my level best. Reason only 1 hour was given to me, and I tried my level best to elaborate in a simple way as much as I can.
Thank you very much for your reaching and writing presentation. So your way of explanation is very smooth, simplified, and full of examples everyone could relate to, just like tomato bad or candy or maybe eating lots of chocolates. And the sportsmanship could be seen through the examples you have given, in which you have shown how physical and mental health are correlated. So, thank you very much. I appreciate, and I open the house for further discussions. So everyone is welcome with all the questions they have. If anyone has some questions, please, they can come forward and ask. So,
Hello. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, it's a nice presentations. Really, it's wonderful. And sir, I have a question related to this hypothesis and research. Sir, what are the basics difference between the participatory research and qualitative research? And do we have both hypothetical ideas for the both kind of the research, or do we have to make it separate in separately?
If you
Yes.
just look at this thing that participatory and qualitatively, it can be separated as well, and it can be basically merged as a mixed method as well. Okay. Nowadays, very new concept has been where qualitative and quantitative, both the research methods has been embedded, and it is called the research method. Okay, mixed research method, where qualitative and quantitative both are discussed, and it covers all the areas, and it's become a very vast research as compared to uh, quantitative and qualitative. Second question is this, that participatory research and your qualitative, it could be separate or it could be in a same way. So when you talk about the participatory research, so what happened that each and everyone is giving his respondent and his feedback, and in this way you are involving them. So in this way you are again getting some qualitative feedback as well, if you just basically deeply analyze this thing. So participatory and qualitatively you can merge as well, and you can split out in your research as well as you like. Your voice is not coming, brother Pramod, Dr. Pramod.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you,
Thank you.
brother.
And sir, one more question, sir.
Yes.
Sir, what in regarding to research, because right now also we are going to do research also in the department. Sir, what would you like to speak about the references and work cited and consulted? Because it is going to be a very controversial nowadays, because most of the professors unwillingly they're not going to be accepted these terms: work cited and consulted and references. What is the appropriate word to mention in thesis or dissertations, whatever?
Okay. So again, same answer is this one, that mostly basically citation is something deeply where you each and you basically relate your each sentence according to some context in your research, while references come at the end of your research, where you are basically pointing out that I covered my research through these references. But citation, you can say it just like validation of your research, that how you are writing this sentence, and this is relate to this thing, and I write down my I wrote this line in this context due to this basically citation. So citation is just like validation. While on the other hand, references, I will say it's a final outcome of your research, which you basically described about, that my research is being verified by these references. While citation, it's basically you are basically covering the major parts of your research, for example, literature review, quantitative, your basically model, whatever. So here you are validating your research according to some context, and you are here using citation, so it's a validation of your research. So there is a two terms, validation and verification. So verification is the final outcome of your research. and references are for that thing. And validation, that it's just like, for example, if you input right thing in your research, then it will be acceptable and it will be the right outcome of your research as well. For example, when we write down any Google form, and you will see sometime there is a mention that you have to write down your numbers, but if you write down the characters, so it will say not acceptable. Okay, so there is a validation check is there, due to which reason system is unable to accept your thing. So same like in basically research, citation references, citation type references are used at the basically parts of your research paper, and they are basically in the context they are using citations, which are basically covering the major parts of your research, but references are the final outcome of your research. Through that you compile your whole research,
Okay.
right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank,
Dr. Pramod.
thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for answering to the query. And we can expect some questions. We are waiting for 1 minute only, and then we'll be switching.
Okay.
I think there are no more queries on the topic. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And it is the time when I introduce our next speaker. So I feel privileged to introduce Dr. Vimlesh Singh, Associate Professor in Electronics and Communication Engineering, Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies, Faridabad, Haryana, India. Her doctorate is in Electronics and Communication Engineering, which she did in 2016. She did her bachelor's degree in Electronics and Communication Engineering from Modinagar 2001 and MTech degree in Digital and Communication Engineering from Bundelkhand Institute of Engineering and Technology, Jhansi, affiliated to UP Technical in 2009. She was lecturer in Institute of Engineering and Technology, Bundelkhand University, Jhansi from 2003 to 2008. Since 2008, she has been working as associate professor in the Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies. She has taught students of BTech, AmTech, and PhD. And not only this, she is the member of various technical and professional societies like ISTE, IET, IAENG, and GYAN, that is Global Initiative of Academic Networks under MHRD. Along with her academic performance, she has experience of successful completion of various administrative responsibilities assigned to her from time to time. She has 38 publications in journals of national and international repute and proceedings of conferences. Her major areas of interest are microwave antenna, microwave biological solutions, and microwave integrated circuits. She is remote center coordinator for Global National Knowledge Network of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology Summer Training Program. Our speaker will give us in-depth insight on the topic publication misconduct, which in itself is the plethora of various malpractices which are prevalent in the research field, like plagiarism, fabrication, falsification, inappropriate authorship, duplicate submission, and so on and so forth. It would be appreciable that we come to know about the topic from our learned and knowledgeable speaker further on the topic. Please help me welcoming our guest of the session, Dr. Vimlesh Singh. So the stage is yours, ma'am. I hand it over to you. Please welcome our guest, Dr. Vimlesh Singh. Ma'am, I think you need to switch on the mic and the video so that we can start with the proceedings.
Hello, hello,
Yes,
hello.
hello, ma'am. Yes, yeah. So we are expecting you to start the session, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah,
Okay, thank you. Thank
just
you.
give me
Over to you,
1 minute.
ma'am. Okay, over to you. Thank you. Hello, ma'am.
This just give me 1 minute, ma'am. Just give me one
Oh,
minute. I'm
sure,
here.
sure. Okay, ma'am.
Hello. Is my PPTs are visible? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
So should I start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Please.
So good day, everyone, and welcome to this international virtual workshop on publication misconduct. And thank you, Dr. Banju Bala, for wonderful introduction. So for this topic, as a researcher, as a scientist, and as a scholar, we strive to produce high quality of research that advance our field and contribution to the large body of knowledge. However, unfortunately, publication misconduct is a growing problem in the academic community. I thank you to the organizer to giving me this opportunity to convey my thought on the topic of publication misconduct. As we all know, research publications are the backbone of scientific progress of any country, and the integrity of these publications is critical for the advancement of knowledge. So today, we will discuss the various forms of the publication misconduct and their impact on the scientific research. We will also exploring way to prevent and detect publication misconduct as well as the consequences that can result from such unethical behavior. So this presentation is based on the following points. Like snapshot of this presentation is basically the definition of the topic, the types of publication misconduct, the responsibility as a stakeholder, why the publication misconduct is need to address, roles of technology, case studies, and credits. So before I start for this presentation, Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, ma'am, is PPTs are changing? Hello. Is the PPTs are changing?
Yeah, ma'am. Now in second slide.
Okay. Just yeah. So at the end of this session, I'll ask a small quiz, and this I'll display it here just have a screenshot of this, so that at the end we can identify why I'm asking these three questions as a quiz to the participants. So can I move to the next?
Sure, ma'am.
Okay. So if we are talking about the publication misconduct, that means why this issue need to address. So first of all, we need to identify what's the definition. So definition, if we are talking about the publication misconduct, that means we are talking in terms of the fabrications, we are talking in terms of the falsification, we are talking in terms of the plagiarism, or producing a wrong information. So to discuss this, we are basically taking care mainly the segment which is working towards the publications in terms of the, we can say, a resource person, as a researcher, as an editor, as a publisher, and anyone else involved in the publication process. So together we can work towards maintaining the highest standards of the ethical conduct in the scientific research and publication. So if we are talking about the good publication practice and the ethical behavior are the critical for ensuring the integrity of scientific research. However, there are the several types of the misconducts that can be undermine the reliability and the credibility of research publication. In this section, we will discuss the most common types of the misconduct that researchers should be aware of. So, if I'm talking about types, so these are the 7 major types in the case of publication misconduct: fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, inappropriate authorship, duplicate submission or multiple submissions, overlapping publications, and the salami publications. So these are the 7 types of the publication misconduct. So for the good publication practice and the ethical behavior are the critical for ensuring the integrity of research, scientific research. However, there are several types of the misconducts that can be undermine the reliability and the credibility of research publication. In this section, we will discuss the most common type of misconducts that researchers should be aware. So if we are talking about the fabrication, that refers to the creation of data and results that do not actually exist. Fabrication data can include false experimental results, measurements, and the observation. If we are talking about the falsification, that means that involve manipulating and altering data and results to support a particular hypothesis or a theory. Falsification can take many forms. In the different ways we can be represented. If we are talking about the plagiarism, so that occurs when an author uses someone else's words, or ideas without proper attribute. Or plagiarism can range from the using entire section of text or figure to a small portion of text or a data. So basically, it's copying the data of someone else. Or if we are talking about the duplicate publications, this occurs when an author published the same articles or research finding in the multiple journals without acknowledging the prior publication. If we are talking about salami slicing, so that's basically refers to the practice or the breaking up a study into the multiple publications to increase the number of publications, even through each publication may not contains enough substantial data and the information to stand alone. And the next, that is conflict of interest. So this occurs when an author personal or the financial interest influenced the research or the publication of the research finding. This can include receiving financial supports from the company or the industry that could be affected by the research finding. So it is important for the researchers to aware of these types of the misconducts and to take steps to avoid them. We adhere to the ethical publication practices. We can ensure the credibility and the reliability of scientific research. So if I'm start with the types of the publication misconduct, so the fabrication, as this figure is showing, a technical fabrication process. So fabrication, that means it's a one of the most serious form of the publication misconduct that can occur in a scientific research. It involves the creation of data or results that do not actually exist. The fabrication data can be used to support a hypothesis or a theory or to manipulate the outcomes of an experiment. And the fabrication basically creating the entire fake data. Entire fake data means in this case, the researcher may invent data points, measurements, or entire experiment that never actually took place. This is deliberated act of the fraud that can have serious consequences for the scientific community. And for the altering of data, sometimes researchers may manipulate real data to produce a more favorable outcome. This can include changing value, omitting data, pointing or selective reporting certain results while ignoring the others. Fake images, fabricated data can also include images that can be altered to produce the desired outcome. For example, researchers may edit an image of microscopic form, so to make the bands or the structure more visible. So that all come into the fabrication of the data. The consequences of the fabrication of data can serve not only for the researcher involved, but for the scientific community as whole. The fabricated data can leads to incorrect conclusion, waste resources, and the loss of public trust in the science. It can also damage the reputation of researcher, institutions, and the journal. It is crucial for researchers to maintain the high standard of the ethical behavior and to avoid any form of fabrication in their research work. By doing so, we can ensure the integrity and the credibility of the scientific research and maintain the public trust in the scientific enterprises. Falsification. So falsification is involve the manipulation or altering the data or the results to support a particular hypothesis or a theory. This can also include the selective reporting of data, the manipulation of images, and the omission of the favorable results. It is a serious form of the publication misconduct that undermine the credibility of the research. another, plagiarism. So plagiarism is an act of using someone else's work, words, or idea without proper attribution or the citation. It can range from using large portion of text or data of small portion or the text or idea. Plagiarism undermine the credibility of research, and it's considered a serious form of the publication misconduct. So the plagiarism are classified on the different forms, like if we can be classified as direct plagiarism, mosaic plagiarism, self-plagiarism, and the accidental plagiarism. If we are talking about the direct plagiarism, so direct plagiarism is copy or the pasting the text without any attribution. So if we are talking about the direct, that means we are basically dishonest towards the research, which basically required as a researcher. Similarly, if we are talking about the mosaic plagiarism, that means involving the it's basically borrowing or the phrases and the taking the, so by simply removing the plagiarism, place the synonyms and replacing the words. So basically that's a basically playing with the text that come into the mosaic plagiarism. If talking about the self plagiarism, that involves reuse of own work without the permission. Means if we as a two author working together and you're representing your own text with some small portion in some other paper without the permission, so that come into the self plagiarism. Another category of the plagiarism which come as accidental plagiarism, so that occurs when a person neglect to cite their sources or the phrases or the paraphrases which he or she has taken from the some other places. So that all come into the category of the accidental plagiarism. So now the next type of the publication misconduct, that is authorship. So if we are talking about the authorship, that means it basically refers to a designation of individuals or a group responsible for the creation of research publication. The international community of the medical journal editor recommended that
Ma'am, your voice is not audible. I think there is a connection disruption. Ma'am, can you hear me? Ma'am, can you hear me? I think there is some technical issue, so I would request our technical team to look into the matter. Hello, ma'am.
Ma'am, please unmute your audio, ma'am.
Right.
am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am. Now you're
Sorry,
audible.
and sorry for this inconvenience. Because of network issues, I have disconnected, and sorry once again to all. So
Okay, that's all right.
authorship, that basically categorized into the four categories mainly. So that based on the substantial contribution to the conception or the design of the work, acquisition, analysis, and the interpretation of data for the work, drafting the work for receiving the as it's critical, and final approval of the version of the published. So it is important to to carefully consider the authorship and to acknowledge all the contributor appropriately to ensure that credits is given where it is due to, and to avoid issues of plagiarism or the disputes over the credits. So that's all about the authorship. If we are talking about overlapping submissions or the overlapping publications, so that credits basically the occurs when a researcher submit a manuscript that contains a significant overlap with another manuscript, and that is either published or under review elsewhere. So this considered as a serious form of the publication misconduct, as it violates the policies of most journals and can lead a reiteration or the sanctions. Another category of the publication misconduct, that is salami publication. So the salami publication, also known as a slice or the segment publication, refers to the practice of breaking a single study into the multiple small publications in order to enhance the quality of publication. This is considered to a form of publication misconduct, as it can lead to over representations of the research work and can result in the fragmentation of the scientific literature. So that's the classification of all the 7 categories of the publication misconduct. So if we understand, then you can test your learning and you can ask the question from yourself so that you can know where are your thought, what's your understanding towards the topic. So you can ask the question like you are preparing a paper that involves a complex concept, but you are having difficulty putting into the words precise how this concept work. You see an excellent explanation in other published paper. Is it okay to use this explanation words or for words in your paper without referring to the others paper? So I think we all are agree we cannot be go for taking the word by word from another paper. So here we cannot, as if we understand the term publication misconduct, so no one should be agree on these lines. So in another question, if you can ask, let's say you don't copy someone else original work words for word, instead paraphrase it. Is it acceptable to use someone else concept, idea, descriptions of an idea, but in your own words? No, this is not accepted. You can be just take the way to write. So that should be your own. That's not paraphrase. Another, you can ask yourself, you plagiarized someone else's work and you are caught. What's the likely consequences? So the article is reiterated with the public document explaining why institute funding your research take disciplinary action and could ask you to leave. So, or judgments or the reputation come into the questions. So these kind of things could become. So if we understand as in term what are the publication misconduct, so we should, as in researcher, as an editor, as in publisher, we should take care of all these points of the publication misconduct. So now Next takeaway is the responsibility. So responsibility refers to the obligation of the researchers to ensure the integrity and the ethical conduct of their research. This includes upholding standards of the research practice, ensuring accuracy, honesty in the data and results, and avoid any form of publication misconduct. Researchers have responsibility to a scientific community in terms of the fake data and the public conduct of their research with the highest level of ethical and the professional standard. So in this category, as an author, responsibility towards as an author to take care of slicing, to take care of the this salami publication, and to take care of the self plagiarism. Another, as a reviewer, so as a reviewer, they have responsibility to take care of the content as an institution or as a research organization, as a publishing house. So the responsibility is depends on all the four person, not only to one, you can say. So if we are talking about in terms of the responsibility, so we should be take care as an author what should be written, what are the original work. It should not be copied from someone else. It's original, it's plagiarism free, it's not a multiple publication. Acknowledge the resources, authorship to the paper, corresponding author, acknowledgement of the funding resources and disclosures and conflict of interest, and the fundamental error in the published work. So they all should be take care of all these 8 points as an author. As a reviewer, so the contribution of the peer review or unqualified to review the promptness, so and the confidentiality standard of the objectives, acknowledgement of the resources and the conflict of interest. So as a reviewer, these points should be take care. As an research institute, so the research organization or the institute play the critical role in promoting the responsible conduct of research and preventing the publication misconduct. So they are responsible for developing and enforcing the policies and the procedures that prompt ethical research practice, provide training and education to the researcher, and monitor compliance with the ethical standards. They also have a responsibility to investigate allegations of the research misconduct and to take appropriate action to address any issues that raise. Research organizations and the institutions can help to maintain integrity and credibility of scientific research for fostering a culture of ethical research practice and holding research accountable for their conduct. As a publication house, so it is important to play fair, confidentiality and disclosure of the conflict of interest. All should be take care. As an importance of this topic, so that's basically depends what are the consequences. So that can be academic suspension, image impact or tarnishing, lack of innovation, brain drain, loss of economy. That's a big loss for any country, unhealthy practice, and the legal issue. So the publication misconduct can have serious consequences on the integrity and the credibility of research. It undermines the public trust in science and can have negative impact on the career and the reputation of researcher involved in it. It can also have significant financial consequences. Research funding or the investment decisions may be based on the validity and the reliability of published research. Additional, the publication misconduct can lead to waste resources and time, as other researchers may rely on the false or the misleading results. Therefore, it is critical to identify and prevent publication misconduct in order to uphold the standards of the research and maintain the public trust on it. As an implication per se, so that depends what are the what are the kind of allegations or the inquiries make and fail. So in terms of the institution, so maybe as an allegation, that could be assessment or inquiry or the investigation. In terms of the judiciary, hiring, appealing, and in any kind of the financial and the physical form of punishment can be get. That depends what kind of the things appear. Now, in terms of the statistics, if we can see, publication misconduct is a serious issue that can have significant consequences on the scientific community. Studies can estimate that the prevalence of the publication misconduct includes fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, range from 1 to 2% of all the published research. That the statisticals shows. However, this number may be an undetermined or unestimated, as many cases of the publication misconduct may go undetected and unreported. A survey of researchers found that 33% had witnessed or experienced some form of the publication misconduct in their field. This statistics highlights the need for continued effort in this area. The higher, you can see here, the 41% highly similar publications are seen in the previous cases. So to prevent or address the publication misconduct is in order to maintain the integrity and credibility of the research work which is to be published. So as in technology, the role of technology on the publication misconduct. So technology has both positive and the negative impacts on the prevention and detection of the publication misconduct. On one hand, technology has made it easier to detect plagiarism and duplicate submission through the use of automated tools such as plagiarism determining softwares. On the other hand, technology has also enabled new form of publication misconduct, such as the creation of fake peer review and the manipulation of images and the data. Therefore, it is important for researchers, journals, and institutions to stay updated with the latest technology advancement and to implement appropriate measures to prevent and detect publication misconduct. This includes investigating in advance, detecting tools, and ensuring that ethical standards to maintaining in the use of technology in research. So that's a role for the different stakeholders, for the different person. So if I'm come to the quiz, so this is the first case study I'm presenting here. Like this figure, this is a Neround, who's a renowned reporter, a journalist, and a political commentator, Mr. Farid Rafiq Zakaria, and he's also hosted the CNN renowned weekly columns and for the Washington Post. So he is in news in 2012. So the question is why he is in a news. So we can see the news of 2012, the time when the CNN investigate an allegation of plagiarism involving a 20 August 2012 column on gun control with similarity to the New York article of jelly lippers. So the reason of this allegation on him is over-reliant on his source material, citing information without attribution and repetition of the material. So that what implication come as an senior person, as a renowned journalist, the suspension for the short duration, reputation tarnished, and the credibility issues. Another case I'm taking here. So I'm taking the case of Felix Jeffrey, the German politician of the Social Democratic Party, served as a minister for the family affair, senior citizen, women and youth in the government of Chancellor Angela Merkel from 2018 to 2021. So the question is why she is in the news. So she is in news because in 2019 she has allegation on on her dissertation work, her plagiarism. Because the report she had submitted on the Free University of Berlin in the year 2010. The reasons come is as in partial or you can say intentional deceptions, citing 69 instances in a 200 pages thesis and improper attribution. So the outcome come suspension from the ministry, reputation tarnished, and the credibility issue. So the next I have asked one more question, that is like representation of the wrong map. So if representation of the wrong map or manipulating a map to show the incorrect information in form of the publication misconduct, that can includes altering boundary, features or labels in order to represent a false or misleading representation of the geographical data. Misinterpretation of map can have serious consequences as it can lead to incorrect conclusion and decision being made based on the false information. It is important for researchers to ensure the accuracy and of their map and to clearly label any change or alteration made in it. Journals and institutions can also play a role in preventing the map related publication misconduct by ensuring that map are the subject of rigorous review and validation process. So these are the references and that's all from my end. Hello.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your insight, valuable and well-informed presentation of the topic. So I open the house for any queries and questions. If someone have, they can ask now. It seems there are no queries so far, so forth. So I hereby going to make an announcement, and it is a 3-day international workshop, virtual conference, a multilingual virtual conference on literature, language, and linguistics and culture. So this is going to take place from 27th to 29th of March 2023. So once again, I'm making the announcement. There is going to be a 3-day international multilinguistic virtual conference on literature, language, linguistics, and culture. And this conference will commence from 27th of March up to 29th of March, 2023. So as we can see, there are not supposed to be any questions, so forth. So now we come to the end of the day one of our 3 day workshop on research and publication. So with this day, which is the first day of ours, a very proper tone has been set with a very clear, simplified, and well-informed presentations from our Professor Dr. Fazil Fayaz and Ma'am Dr. Vimlesh Singh. So our first topic was how to write a strong hypothesis, where Dr. Fazil Fayaz very beautifully and in a very down to earth and through very related examples made us to understand what research hypothesis is, how a hypothesis is always scientific and science factual based, and predictions in a hypothesis are based purely on the scientific facts only, and in them we are told that there are different types of the hypothesis, just like null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. So Dr. Faisal Fayaz has answered the queries related to the topic as well. And the second presentation was from Dr. Vimlesh Singh on the topic, as it was mentioned earlier, publication misconduct, where Dr. Vimlesh Singh has given in detail all the types. First, she gave the definition of what this misconduct, publication misconduct is, and what are the major 7 types of the publication misconduct, and how we all, like researchers, publishers, and or the scholars, can take care of all these things. So she has given some measures we can take in order to check this problem. And she has given also the 2 case studies in order to show how plagiarism is playing with the research, with the actual genuine research, which is supposed to be there. So with this announcement, once again, I'm going to make the announcement for that 3 days multi-linguistic conference that is going to start from 27th March to 29th of the March 2023. We come to the end of the day one. Thank you very much for all the attendees, participants, and a deep gratitude to our presenters. They have made our day. It was wonderful, and all the information presentations were like well informed, super informative. They have, of course, enlightened me, and of course, I am very confident that they have enlightened everyone over here. And now we come to the end. So a very good evening to all. And tomorrow by 5:50, we will start again with our day 2 of the conference. Till then, take care. Namaskar.